Hello, my crafty friends. Welcome. Today I'm creating a bunch of cards using a beautiful new collection from Spellbinders. It's called the Color Block Background Collection. I love their color block dies, and this collection is so much fun to play with. So let me show you what we're working with here today. They're very unique, and you can create a slimline, mini slimline, A2, A7 size cards with all of these. So let's start with these beautiful clouds. This one's called the Color Block Cloudscape, and you get 3 different dies that will cut out clouds. I have a stencil in my stash that will do this, but I don't have dies, so I thought this was really fun and unique. Next up is the Color Block Southwest, and this cuts out all of these little pieces that you see here on this cover plate. This plate measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it makes an A2 sized card. And this is the one I'm going to be working with first. I thought this one was so much fun. And last, I have Color Block Slimline Edges. Now you get a scalloped edge and a pointy edge die, and it only cuts out the one edge, so you can make them as thick as you'd like. And again, they'll work with any size card that you'd like to create. Okay, I have something else to show you in this video, and I was super excited because I adore Spellbinders cardstock, and they came out with 4 new colors. So this beautiful blue is called Partly Cloudy, then we have Phone Booth, a Lunar Gray, and the yellow is Chamomile. And these are very heavyweight cardstocks. I'm going to be using all 4 of these colors on my first card. So let's get started. I went ahead and did all of my die cutting off camera, and I'm going to use some stick-it adhesive to do my first card. Now, there are several ways that you can put this together, and I'm going to show you what worked best for me. My first attempt wasn't as successful, however, but I'm still going to show you. So this stick-it adhesive is really nice because it is adjustable. You can readjust the pieces as you need to. I like to use my bone folder just to really press the adhesive into my cardstock. And I'm using 110-pound Nina Solar White here. But I don't think it matters what weight of cardstock you use for this technique. Let's peel off the backing. And then for this card, I'm going to start at the edges. I'm using a little piece of the backing just to hold it in place. I don't want my fingers to stick to it. And we'll start with this beautiful gray cardstock. I think it'd be really fun to create a cardstock using your recipient's favorite colors. And if it's just one color, you could do several shades of that color. For instance, I have a friend who loves purple. So I'm going to create her a card using all different shades of purple. So I'm working my way in toward the center. And I'm trying to butt them up perfectly. However, it does get a little misaligned. And thank goodness this stick-it adhesive is repositionable because I have to take it apart a few times. But I'm going to show you another way to use this that's a lot easier and a lot more effective. But aren't those colors gorgeous together? And they fit in beautifully with all of the colors that Spellbinders already has. So here's the finished card. It's not perfectly aligned, but that's okay. So for card number 2, I'm starting at the center and working my way out to the edges, just using liquid glue. The liquid glue went a lot faster, I should say, because I can kind of wiggle them in place and butt them up perfectly together. Now, you'll see at the end, you'll see white cardstock at the edges, but this is okay because I just end up trimming that off, and it turns out perfectly aligned this time. So I would recommend starting at the center and working your way out. My problem was I didn't put the red piece down perfectly center, but again, that's okay. We're just going to trim off the white edges. So this was a lot faster and a lot easier to do. Let's glue the last piece in here. And then I will cut off the edges. and nobody will be the wiser. I just use my long sharp scissors for this. Sorry, I'm kind of holding it up close to my eyes and moving really slowly so that I don't cut into my design. But isn't it just a fabulous die? With all of my leftover pieces, I'm going to be making up a bunch of these. For an added touch of dimension, I am going to pop up a piece of the gray cardstock over the center and just stagger it a little bit so you can see the red cardstock underneath. And then the sentiment comes from a die cut. This is from the Mix and Match sentiments. And it's just going to say hello. I debated whether using black cardstock or white cardstock. They both looked great, but I decided on the white cardstock this time. And you can leave off the sentiment altogether if you wanted and just make up a bunch of note cards. So I'll glue this to a white card base. I added some crystal gems around the sentiment. They almost look white, so they helped kind of bring out the white of the sentiment. And here is a close-up look. I'm using more of the Spellbinders Cardstock Essentials for this next card. And this is going to be a slimline card measuring 8.5 by 3.5. So I have all of my colors selected, and I'm going to start trimming them down. I'm going to trim them down each to 1.5 inches. This will fit in my die cutting machine this way. And it will be the perfect, each one will be the same height. So I'm going to tape down the die at the very bottom of these strips of cardstock. And then I'm going to be overlapping these. So here is the Dahlia cardstock. Isn't that pretty? And then I'm using sand pink, saffron, and peridot. I have my card base ready to go. Next, I'm going to start gluing these down. I'll start at the bottom, and it's going to be touching the bottom edge of this card base. Next, we'll put the lighter pink color on. And I wish I had used a piece of glitter cardstock or kind of a specialty cardstock in between this as well. But this is the first time I've used these dies, and so I was just playing here. Once you start playing with a new die or a stamp, you get lots more ideas. And now for the last piece, this peridot. And this one is a little bit longer so that I have room for my sentiment at the top of this card. However, before I do the sentiment, I'm going to add a little bit of black and white baker's twine at the top of this card. I'm taping this baker's twine in place with a little bit of double-sided adhesive. Then I can just trim off the end. I'll also add a bow with the same baker's twine. And now before I attach the bow, I want to stamp out the sentiment that says Happy Birthday. This stamp comes from the clear stamp of the month from May of 2021. And if that is still available, I'll link it in the description box below. I had a lot of beautiful sentiments in this set. To attach the bow, I'm going to use a micro dot. And just to ensure that it's not going to be falling off, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue around it as well. We'll press that into place, and then I'm going to leave the ends of the bow kind of on the long side. I'll just snip those off. And then I can attach this to my card base. I'm sorry, I thought I was working on the card base. This was actually just a piece of white cardstock I was attaching everything to. But I'll use some liquid glue to attach it to the card base. I'm going right over the baker's twine with the glue. And then to add a little more color, I'm bringing in some enamel dots of various colors. This just makes it look more party-like. And here is the finished card. This is such a fun, bright, and festive looking card. I just love all of those scallops. For my next card, I'm going to use the Zigzag die. I cut out some more paper strips measuring 1.5 inch. And this is going to be the perfect size because you can get 2 for the price of 1. You only have to run this through your die cut machine once and you'll get 2 zigzag strips. So I will tape it in place just so it doesn't shift. And then I'll take this off camera and run this through my die cut machine. And then as you see, you'll get 2 zigzag die cuts and they're going to be the exact same height. This makes the die cutting go so much faster if you want a bunch of these. I'm going to create an A2 sized card using these strips of paper. And again, I'm going to start at the bottom and just glue these down with some liquid adhesive, trying to get the tips so they're right at the bottom of this piece of Dahlia Pink cardstock. I love the diamonds, the diamond effect that this technique creates, but there's so many things you could do with these dies. I'll just trim off the overhang. And this gives it some fun texture and dimension as well. So the next piece is a Dahlia Pink. And we'll just line those up so that they make perfect diamonds. I'm just going to work my way up this piece of Dahlia Pink cardstock doing this. I do occasionally cut off the overhang just to get it out of my way. And this was really fast and easy to do as well, and I just love how it turns out. And of course you can use as many colors as you'd like. And this would look gorgeous as a slimline card as well. Okay, let's glue my last one in place. Then I'll trim off the overhang on this. Again, I'm moving kind of slow so that I don't cut into my card panel. Or you could use your paper trimmer or guillotine trimmer to cut this off as well. There's just a sliver up at the top too, and I will cut that off. And here it is all ready to go. Now I can start on my sentiment. So I'm using the die of the month from September of 2021, as well as the large die of the month from September 2021. And these sets were fun because they have some beautiful word dies, as well as their bubble outline. This is going to be another birthday card. I wanted the sentiment to be kind of simple since the pink and white panel is so busy. So I'm just cutting them out with black and white cardstock. And then I also cut out some balloons and a few flowers. I'll glue the tie under the balloon. And it's hard to see in this video, but this balloon does have texture to it. And then to decorate the balloons, I'm going to use some flowers cut out of the same cardstock as the card panel I did at the beginning, as well as some little leaves. This set also came with the balloon strings. So I'll glue that on next. And then everything is going to go down flat onto my card panel. I'm starting with the birthday first. I wanted to be sure to leave my balloon enough room for its string. Next, we'll put the happy down. And then the balloon. I do end up coming in with a smaller balloon and putting it next to this one. Just needed something more. But here is a close-up look. I also added some black and white gems, a lot of them around this panel. For my last card, I'm using the Color Block Cloudscape dies, as well as a small set called Sun and Clouds. I wanted to have a cute little sun to go on this card. This is going to be an A2 sized card as well. I'm also using the clear stamp and die of the month from last October called Sending You. These dies are great because you could use up a lot of your scrap paper as well as what I'm doing here. So I'm using the edge of this piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to tape it in place. I'll die cut this out off camera, and this is going to line up perfectly with the edge of my lunar gray cardstock. So I'm going to use the same piece of white cardstock and cut out 2 dies together this time. I want a longer cloud to come in from the edge of the lunar gray cardstock. I'll just snip this edge off. I do create a few more clouds off camera, but they're very easy to use, and you can get so much variation with these dies. Here they are all cut out, and now I'm going to pull out a few Distress Oxide inks. The sun just seemed a little flat, so I'm coming in with some fossilized amber just along one of the edges. And then to deepen this color even further, I'm using some ripe persimmon along the edge as well. This just adds such a cute touch to the sun. For the clouds, I'm using some tumbled glass, and I'm just putting it at the bottom of each cloud. This will add a little bit of shading. I think I could have gone in with even a darker blue. I think that would have looked really pretty as well, or even a gray. And then I'm going to pop this in my mini Misty and stamp out the sentiment. This is going to say, "Happy Thoughts." All of my pieces I'm going to pop up with foam adhesive, except for one piece I'm going to glue down flat. The sentiment as well, I'm going to pop up with a little bit of foam where it comes off of the cloud so that they are the same height. Then I'll put a little bit of liquid glue there to attach it to the cloud. So I'll just keep working my way up this panel. I'll put this top edge just tentatively in place so that I don't overlap any of the other clouds, which of course wouldn't be bad. But I just have an idea of how I want this card to look. This piece right here, I'm going to glue down flat because my sun is going to go there, and I wanted to pop up my sun with some foam. I felt like the bottom edge needed something, so I'm just using a little piece of a cloud there. And then I'll put my sun in place and add a few aquamarine gems around the card. There's so many fun things that you can do with these dies. I really had fun with this set as well. Out of the sets I showed you today, I really don't know which one is my favorite. So now let's glue this onto the card base. And then I decided to add even a little more sparkle using a clear glitter pen. I'm just going to go over the sun. This would also look cute with some glossy accents on top of it. And here is a close-up look at the finished card. Thanks so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you were inspired by these card projects, and I hope you get a chance to sit down and create some beautiful cards today. I'll have all of the links to these products listed in the description box if you're interested in checking any of these out. And again, these dies are from the Color Block Background collection from Spellbinders. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!